And I want to thank all of you for being here today for our breakout session. This is one of the breakout communities featuring relink.org. So my name is Jennifer Nail, and I'm a reentry coordinator for the Ohio Department of Rehabilitation and Corrections, Office of Reentry. And I am joined by Barbara Campbell, who is the executive director of the Dalton Foundation. And Ms. Campbell brings a really unique educational and professional background, including a lot of volunteerism. And she's with me today to talk to you about relink.org and how access to resources can drive change for people in need. So before we start, I would love to start us off with a really quick icebreaker. I think it might be fun in a small group. So if you guys would use the chat function, again in Zoom rather than Whova, I would like to know what actor or actress you would want to play you in the movie of your life. Should give us a good snapshot as to how you see yourselves. For me, I would ask Janine Garofalo, who's a comedian and actress who's been around since the 90s. I think she would really get me. Nobody else has any ideas? I can't see you guys, so I can't throw out suggestions.
You know who I would pick? This is weird, but this is just as we're growing up. She's older than me, so I don't know, but just someone, Sally Field. I've always liked her, and I've always thought, you know, I don't know, but again, she's a little older than me, but I think that would be good. Oh, Sandra Bullock, that's a good one.
Yes, I've always said if I could look like anybody, that's who I would pick, is Sandra Bullock. And Jennifer Lawrence, yeah, she's a little fireball, isn't she?
Oh, Jennifer Aniston, also a good one too.
Again, we should all be so lucky. So yeah, it looks like we have all ladies in the bunch, I think. So that explains that. Rosie Perez, I was watching a show with her in it just last night. All right, fun. Well, thank you guys for kicking us off. It's a Friday morning on a holiday week, which are always weird weeks that, even though they're shorter, somehow feel longer. I don't know if you guys experienced that, but we had Monday as a holiday, and the week feels longer.
Email her from my phone right
for us. There we go. So I think we're going to launch a poll to get us started. And let me make sure I can do it here. And you guys should see it popping up on your screen. And all we'd like to know is, have you heard of relink.org before building bridges?
Did you launch it, Jennifer?
Yes, I can see it on my screen, and I have one response. And if anybody's encountering problems seeing the poll on their screen or responding to it, you can use the chat feature in Zoom too. So we're at 50% with 2 respondents. All right, and 3 people have chimed in, and 2 of them have not heard of Relink, which says to me that this is a great opportunity to help spread the word and increase information and awareness. So that's awesome. I will go ahead and pull the poll down, but again, the chat feature is there. If anybody is just a little slow to respond, you still have the option to let us know. So thank you guys for that. And then Barb, is the poll down, just to be sure?
I'm gonna be honest, I can't see it, so.
Oh, okay. I pulled it down, so I think we are good. So thank you guys for bearing with us through icebreakers and polls. I think it's a nice way to set the table. I'm gonna ask Barbara Campbell to get us started by sharing some background on relink.org and some information on navigation before we move on to a discussion about that resource. So Ms. Campbell, thank you for being here, and I'm gonna turn it over to you.
All right, thank you so much, and I appreciate everybody being here. I'm gonna share my screen. That's okay with everybody. And sometimes PowerPoint does not like you to do your presentation in a normal way, but there we go. Everybody can see my screen okay?
We've got you.
Okay, good. I want this to be really casual. We're a small group. I want to be able to share information about relink.org, a little bit of our background. But relink.org, as you'll hear as I tell the story, is a resource for the state of Ohio, but it's really been designed by the state of Ohio too. And user feedback has been absolutely huge for everything we do. So asking questions, giving us advice has helped it be what it is. So please feel free to unmute yourself and just ask questions or raise your hand or whatever the case may be. We want this to be really casual. So Relink.org started in 2017. It is a project of the Dalton Foundation. Mr. Dalton is really passionate about this. It started as a resource mainly just for addiction recovery. He had a child that was struggling with addiction, and he realized how difficult it was to actually find resources. When you Google it, something comes up in California or Florida, and it was a huge challenge. And he had known, at the time it was Attorney General Mike DeWine, and the challenges Ohio was having with just understanding where all their resources were, where open beds were, what counties had resources, what didn't. And so he set out to catalog all the addiction recovery resources in the state of Ohio. We quickly learned from user feedback that just having those addiction recovery resources wasn't going to really be enough to really help someone through a whole continuum of care from struggling with addiction and needing detox all the way through to re-entering and having a successful life with full employment. That's kind of how we judge success, and we know that it takes time. So we started relink.org with the image over there on the left, and that was just us sitting around, you know, hey, we think this might be good. And then we started doing focus groups all over the state, getting feedback, getting input. We knew we quickly needed to add basic needs resources like food, clothing programs, and furniture programs that people needed. We also knew we needed to add a lot of reentry services. I will be honest right now, reentry services is our most popular category. It has surpassed addiction recovery. So we know this is a really huge need across the state. So including things like second chance employment. And then also in 2019, we added in human trafficking resources, again, as an express need from the community, that this was a huge need. We wanted to get people access to these resources as quickly as possible. So based on everyone's feedback, it has changed over the years, and we're really, really excited about that and thankful for all that feedback. Relink.org is currently used by thousands of Ohioans every month. It's continuing to grow. We do have Sarah Capri on the call here. She's our statewide media coordinator who does an excellent job getting the word out about relink.org in the local community and all throughout the state. And we also have a data coordinator who's really responsible for all of the data, maintaining it, adding to it, changing it, listening to providers that are on the platform and getting the word out as well. So we've been really excited by how it's grown. We've doubled, it's just in the past year, and we're hoping to see that continue. I always say this though, we really honestly wish that relink.org didn't need to be needed. That would mean maybe nobody was looking for help, but we really do want help to be at everyone's fingertips. We always say 3 clicks in 3 seconds to find 3 or more options of what you're looking for. So that's kind of our goal with relink.org, and we hope that we're able to meet that. So this is just a slide that Sarah put together that I really like, that just kind of lists all the broad categories of services you'll find on relink.org. All of these go into some subcategories that I'll show you in a little bit, but these are the big buckets of data that relink.org has and allows you to filter through.
Hi, Barb, can I pop in for just 1 second?
Sure.
You're using the slides on your sidebar, so the main slide isn't advancing for us. Can you go into a full slideshow so we can see detail on the slides?
Yeah, sure. I tried to, on my screen, I'm in a full slideshow, but you're not seeing that?
No, we're seeing like the starting position. So we've got all of your slides on the column on the left, and then only the first slide is featured. There we go. That
Okay, I went
helps.
out of the presentation now. I always find there's a little challenge with Zoom on a
Hey,
PowerPoint. So
it is
it,
okay, but we
I
can see
will
it
leave
now.
it out of the presentation mode. It was presenting on my end, but not on your end, I guess.
We
This
can
is
see you
perfect.
moving correctly now.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, great. So now you can actually see the main slide. Yeah, please stop me like that. And if there's any questions as we go, there'll probably be questions as I show the demonstration a little bit more. But you'll see here the different services that we offer, like I said. I'm going to go through this really quickly of how, in great detail, actually, of how relink.org works. But we've got it set up. We've tried to, like I say, make it really easy for users. You can search by what city you're in. You can search by zip code. You can search by county. You can select a radius. And so we really, really want to make it easy for people to use. And I'm going to go through that. And God willing, the live demo will work in a minute. But I put together some of these slides too, just to show you what relink.org, what the user sees. This is the first landing page, and then you can click on resources now. I do want to add as well that relink.org is mobilely enabled too, so you can pull it up, save it to your home screen, just like an app, and pull it up and use it. I know that that's one thing we do a lot at Outreach. We get people set up to where it's right on your phone. I want to share a little bit about who uses relink.org. Like I said, we have thousands of users every month, and the users range from a person struggling with addiction. Well, we find out that a lot of times the person that is in need may not always be in a position to advocate for themselves. And so we have family members that use it. But honestly, our super users, our social workers, our peer supporters, our people within ODRC, helping people come out of incarceration, are what we call our super users. These are people that log in and use relink.org every day to help somebody find resources. And these are the groups that we tend to get a lot of feedback from, because they are the ones that use it. And we want to make sure it is working really well for them, for everything they need. I'll go to the next slide. This is kind of the main, what we call the needs landing page. We have all of our data grouped into these 6 buckets, and then they subdivide under there. So when you come in, you say, okay, what am I looking for? Okay, I'm looking to help someone re-enter. So that's the button that you click into. Then under that, there will be some subgroups, how it's grouped, and you can choose what you're looking for. And again, this is just a quick slide to show what I'm going to live demo here in just a minute, but it gives you great detail on the organizations as you click through. And then one other example, again, of an employment one, where you'll see it then lists out all the different options, and then you click on one and it gives you all the detail on that organization. So without further ado, I want to go into a live demo, and I hope that it all goes through. Yeah, when you're not in presentation mode, it doesn't let you do the live link. So hold on just a second here. Okay, can y'all see my screen?
I'm still seeing the PowerPoint.
Yep, we're in the PowerPoint, Barbara.
All right, let's fix that real quick. How about now?
Perfect.
Gotcha.
Okay. All right. The Zoom glitches that we've come to learn over the last year of the pandemic, year and a half of the pandemic, right? I know that Zoom and PowerPoint, it just doesn't always work. All right, so this is what the landing screen looks like. Over here on the left, you'll see where you can enter your city or your zip code. Then after that, you can choose a radius that you want to search through. It defaults to 25 miles. You can narrow it down to 10 miles. You can go up to 100 miles. Or you can select a county, like say, for example, you want to find out what resources are available in your county. And you can change states too, but I will say our data is mostly intently focused on the state of Ohio. There is quite a bit in Kentucky, Indiana, Pennsylvania, Michigan, the states around Ohio, but we are intently focused on providing this service for the state of Ohio. So if I was going to put in, let's just put in a county here real quick. We'll go right in the middle of the state, and I'll just put Franklin County in and pick that. And then we want to look at reentry services in Franklin County. These are our services. I'll go through these categories real quick. You can look for housing. Then there's different kind of housing categories. So whether they're specific kind of like halfway housing, there's affordable housing options for people that are maybe coming out of the halfway house option. And then we also added in home furnishings here on this menu. Under employment education, you've got job training, assistance getting employment, second chance employers, and education. And then under support services, this is where you see help getting an ID or birth certificate, support groups, transportation, reentry groups and coalitions. So you'll see that we have a lot of different data here to help with the reentry community. Real quick, I'll just show an employment demonstration real quick. And second chance employers is a category. Well, all these categories are searched a ton on relink.org. Second chance employers. And again, we're searching in Franklin County. We could adjust this. But the way you'll see that it presents is over here on the left, you see these boxes. These can all be checked because we've designed this to be a way that you can print resources. So say you had a client in front of you, or you're a parent or whatever, trying to find some options for your child or a relative or something like that. You could click on a few of them and then print them out, and it prints out in an easy to read, concise format for someone, and you can hand them to them. So that option is there. You can also sort by different types of organizations, government, faith-based organizations. That may not be super relevant when you're searching for jobs, but sometimes that can be relevant if you're looking for a specific type of treatment program or something. You can search by whether services are offered for just males or just females, or both. And again, doesn't really play if we're looking at a job like we are right now, but it can definitely play if you're looking at different types of housing options. So we want people to be able to sort by that. Again, here's different ways you can use those filters. You can search by different ages. If you want to find something for an older adult or a child, you can sort by that. You can sort by different types of payment. And again, this relates to the addiction type resources. If you have insurance, will my person be able to get services there? And you can also, again, this is mostly related to addiction, search and see if a provider is certified. And these are usually certified by the state of Ohio, OMAS or CARF. We do list who certified them. So in case that is something, if that is important to people, then we do have that listed. So again, we're back under second chance employers. This is some listed in the Columbus area. Once you click on the organization, it gives great detail about it. You can click on it and it will map it. I won't do that right now because it'll go out of the thing, but it'll go into Google Maps and map it. You can call it directly. If you're on your phone, it'll directly call it. Gives you a link to their website if you want it, and then also their hours of operation. So that's quick one demo. Any questions so far? All right. Real quick, I want to show just the addiction services that are available, just because there's a lot of detail on those. You know, there's treatment, housing, a lot of harm reduction, a lot of counseling services. But let's just say you're looking for medication-assisted treatment for somebody with addiction. Again, it's the same format throughout. It comes up in lists organizations. Again, I can scroll. You'll see that a lot of them come up. And this is where you'll see some of that certification coming in. You'll also see some gender coming in, like this Lower Lights facility as just for females only. So you'll see some of that stuff coming in. And then again, the same thing, you click on it and it has all of their their details, hours of operation, contact information, details about it. And again, directly from here, you can print it, you can email it to someone, share it to their Facebook, tweet it. So there's different ways to get the data off the computer and into someone's hands if someone does want it to be printed out. So we've tried to take that into consideration as we're going through. I'll go through one more and then I'll just show real quick our basic needs. Again, this is where we go through different shelters, community support, furniture. Believe it or not, furniture is quite a popular search. People looking to, as they're getting out and to being able to get their home restored. So there's a lot of options that come up for people to be able to find what they're looking for. All right, so I'm going to go back. I'm going to do one last search and then Jennifer, I'll turn it over to you. I know just for some questions and answers, we'd love to get everyone's thoughts, and there usually are some questions that come up. We'll go through reentry housing real quick. But I hope you see how quick and easy it is. Like I said, our goal is, three clicks in 3 seconds, and we hope it does work that quick. It should work that quick for everybody to find what you're looking for to help somebody. So Jennifer, I'll go ahead and turn it over to you.
All right, Barb, thank you. I use Relink and I learned something new there. So I appreciate you sharing that presentation with us and kind of walking through the process for Relink. I'm going to ask our participants, if you guys have any questions, please throw them in the chat. And while we wait for some of those to pop up, Barb, I wanted to ask you, how can the public help you build this database? Is there a way that our participants here or folks that they are working with can assist you in this process?
Yeah, thank you. That's a great question. And the answer is absolutely yes. So one of the most common questions we always get is, how do you get the data and how do you maintain it? Because everybody knows the minute you have data, it's suddenly out of date, right? And we definitely acknowledge that and we agree with that. But we always say having 90 or 95% of the data here and accurate, well, we hope it's even more than that, is better than zero. So we're trying to make sure we keep everything aggregated, and we do it in several ways. One is to answer your question with the public. So we have a lot of partners throughout the state who will share their lists with us. Mr. Dalton, when he started this, he always said, what we need to do is get everyone's black books into one place, right? And so that's kind of, well, that's a small view. We've definitely gone beyond that. There's over 7,000 organizations on relink.org. Another thing to mention too, this is a non-for-profit venture. So this is not a pay-to-play in any way. We do not accept money from a certain treatment facility to come up at the list on the top, or it's not like that. We meant this is like a public service funded by the Dalton Foundation and others. We do get support from others as well, the state of Ohio included, to keep this free for everybody. It's free for organizations to be listed, certainly free to use, and we want it that way. We don't want it to be a biased service where somebody pays to show up more than other people. It's not like that. So we get a lot of data and lists from different professionals around the state. So, for example, a peer supporter like at Thrive up here in the Cleveland area will say, oh, I have all this list of things I do. We'll get that list. We'll make sure it's audited against our data. So we're constantly doing that to keep it up to date. Another way that people can keep it up to date. So this up here where it says account portal, this is another part of the database I didn't talk about. But say, for example, you run a reentry housing program in Cincinnati, you can register and get your own account. And you sign up and you register, and then once you get it, you sign in. And then when you sign in, your organization will come up and you can edit any of your data. So I'll show the back end real quick because we have time. Where you will get to, you will get to add and edit your own data. So I just want to show you the way we collect the data. It's a pretty simple checkbox form. And once your data is in, if you've already registered and you're already on relink.org, all your data populates on this form. And say, for example, your hours changed, you would just go in, scroll down to the hours here, and you would just change it. And then you hit update. And then once an organization is vetted, it goes live instantly. So say, for example, you are starting a hot meal program. You just have had a food pantry, but now you're adding a hot meal. Literally, you just check the box, scroll to the bottom, hit update provider, and the provider is updated. And so we have, gosh, I don't know how many we have, but close to 1,000 different organizations in here that have those accounts. Now, of course, everyone doesn't update every day, but they have that ability to update their own data, which is really helpful for us. And that's once it's vetted. So when a new organization registers for the first time, they do not have the ability to edit data live. There's a vetting process, a phone call, making sure it is what it says it is, and then the person is given the account to be able to update it. So I wanted to share that as another way we update data. And then the last, again, we just have our employee, that's their constant job to audit the data. We do a county by county approach. We're like, okay, you're auditing Lucas County this week, you're auditing Franklin County this week. And then we audit those counties constantly.
Okay. Well, that kind of is a nice segue into the next question that I had. Can we talk a little bit about like the vetting and then the re-vetting process? Are there times where you've had to remove organizations from your listing due to either self-reporting inaccurately, or even, I hate to think it, but I'm sure there are times when people are out there engaging in exploitative services?
Yes, yes. I mean, I'm happy to say it's not super common, but it has happened quite a few times. I'll share a couple of stories. So one, human trafficking, you have to be really careful with, because,
Yeah.
you know, that's a lot of predators can advertise that they are safe havens. So that's a real tricky one that we monitor really, really closely. Like we probably don't have nearly as many human trafficking resources as maybe we could have. Just because of that, we really have to know that they are a real legit organization with a real brick and mortar place. Even addiction too, it's the same thing. Sometimes our requirement to be registered on here as an addiction provider is you have a physical presence in the state of Ohio. So the ones that only are in Florida, I'm not saying those are good or bad, I'm not ranking them, but our goal is to have people from the state of Ohio on this, or near, you know, you can be in Kentucky, but a physical presence in the state.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a requirement there. We do get notifications from the Columbus area on when organizations are being shut down for any reason, and those get taken off of the site immediately. I remember one time we had a staff member doing just his normal data audit, and he called me and he said, Barbara, I don't think this is a legitimate place, because once you click on the map and you can see what it is, and it was like somebody's house. And so he was in the area, he drove by it, he's like, this is not an addiction treatment center. And what it was we ended up calling the state, and it was a scam where they were trying to get people in Ohio to get into this system, but it was really sending funds and money and people out of the state. And so we shut that down. So there's been several examples of that where we definitely have had to take data off. But most of our data is editing changes. So like, oh, our hours used to be this and now they're this. Oh, we used to be open on Fridays, now we're closed on Fridays. A lot of COVID changes went in, and now we'll be coming out. So things like that are the vast majority of what we do.
Yeah, you have my empathy on the COVID changes. Trying to keep on top of everyone's changes in services, hours, virtual work during the pandemic was quite the workload. We were doing that ourselves.
Yeah, that's, you know, understandable. Things had changed and now they're starting to change back. So
yeah. So how's this process working in the rural communities? I know for some of my colleagues working, let's say in Southeast Ohio, where even broadband and cell service can be inconsistent. Are you guys making any inroads in like expanded connections in some of our least populated areas?
That's a really good question. From a technology perspective, we haven't made any adjustments for different parts of Ohio. So it's still internet based and it's still mobile phone based. Now, I will say this, we do have a way, and we have printed directories for different counties. So we've done one for Summit County, we've done one from Cuyahoga County. So we do have a way to export the data. It lines up in a nice spreadsheet, and we have a printer that prints it out. So we do have that capability for counties, and I think that would be a great option for some of the rural counties. I think one of our biggest challenges with the rural counties is finding the data. And what we have to determine is, so we pick a county, for example, and we only find 3 or 4 addiction resources there. And we have to ask ourselves, what are we missing, right? Or are we missing anything? Are there really only 3? And so that's our challenge with the rural counties. And we do have a little mapping feature on relink.org where we can kind of map and see, visually look at where all the dots are. And you'll see some counties that have 1 or 2 dots, in a given category. And that's where we really focus on trying to verify that. And then when we have verified it, that there's like 0s or 1s or 2s, that's when we share that information with the state too, of like, hey, do you really realize that there are so few resources here? Tell us we're wrong, but then we try to create awareness about those, we call them 0s, where we're not finding any services in a given area.
Okay. That's fascinating. The difference in dynamics between our population centers and some
it's huge. Yeah.
I mean, and there's still people there in need. And that disparity in resources can be a really hard pill to swallow when you're working with folks. That's a lot.
And I didn't realize too, Sarah, who's on the call, has pointed this out to me too. Again, I had lived in Haiti, and I understand the challenges of not having technology and not having a lot of things at your fingertips, but even there, most people had a cell phone. But Sarah has been sharing with me at some of the outreach events that she's been at, a lot of people don't have cell phones. That's a huge challenge that we need to look at, and that's where I guess the printing directories comes into play in certain areas. And that leads me to, if we have a channel, I'll talk about what we're doing in neighborhoods. Now that we've gotten relink.org a lot of the data, we've got it statewide, we've got thousands using it. Now we're talking about doing some things in different neighborhoods and doing a neighborhood approach and adapting relink.org. And that's an exciting new area we're moving into.
Well, let's hear about it.
All right, if you guys got a minute. So this is a project that we're working on with some partners, some faith-based partners up here in Northeast Ohio. I hope I can't really see what I'm typing. There we go. So this is going to be, you're going to see relink.org adapted for the Clark, Fulton, and Stockyards neighborhoods here in Cleveland. So this is a specific neighborhood. We've got, you can see the landing page looks very different, but it's still all powered by relink.org in the background. So for example, if you click, I need help, you'll see while the color scheme is different, it's still basically relink.org behind it, empowering it. And we've worked with the neighborhood leaders and also the organizations that work in the neighborhood, and also the churches in the neighborhood, to say, hey, what categories do you want to see? This is what relink.org has. What do you want for your neighborhood? And you can see that it lays out a little bit differently. And so then we had our developers kind of reprogram it. The data gets pulled a little bit differently, and it's designed for this area. Now, again, when you click on it, it does look very similar to relink.org. It's pulling all the data, but it's a different way to engage with the community really locally. Another thing you'll notice up here on the left, it automatically defaults to 44109, which is the zip code for the Clark Fulton neighborhood. So people don't even have to select a region. It's automatically all the stuff in their neighborhood. Now, if you're in Clark Fulton and you want to search for your friend in Cincinnati, you can go in and change it and have all the access to the relink.org data. But it's taking a specific neighborhood approach, and we're doing a lot of hands-on activities in the neighborhood this block club thing is one thing I know we're really excited about, working with the block club leaders to get their specific blocks set up. They all have their own pages. It's a way for them to connect with their community. So it's a real way we're trying to be real intentional with the neighborhoods, because we know relink.org, we believe it's a great resource for people, but we know people also need a personal connection. They need sometimes help. We need it to be customized for their neighborhood, for their feel. So this is a new area we're moving into relink.org in the future.
That's really interesting. And I imagine building something like that on a large scale for many neighborhoods has to be unbelievably labor intensive, but it's also a way you could really target high need neighborhoods. Like,
Exactly.
I keep thinking about 15 years ago, there was a particular neighborhood in the downtown Cincinnati area that kept making national news as having like the highest crime rates in the country in this. And it was a very concentrated area, like a 10, 15 block radius. It's completely gentrified now and amongst, one of the most expensive places to live in the city now. But at the time, that level of targeted outreach would have had the chance to be really impactful. So it's a really interesting way to pursue the idea of all change being, local and starting with your neighbors, really.
Yeah, and and when we sat down with the neighborhood leaders and let them design it too, so they really own it. And we had all those block club leaders in meetings, and they got to say, hey, we need this and this and this, things we had never thought of. I mean, on that site, they selected the pictures, they selected everything. They designed logos for their block club. So it's been a really fun project too, and also we think very impactful for the region.
Yeah, that's fascinating. So I want to make sure that I understand. So relink.org operates as a web page. And if you're accessing it on your cell phone, it has a mobile interface. So it's not the old school where you're trying to navigate what's meant for a computer on your phone in tiny little language. But there's
it's laid out different, like it'll look very different. These buttons will be on top of each other, like, lined up on your phone. So it's designed for your phone. Everything fits. It's very easy to use.
Right.
I know Sarah and I have it saved on our saved to our home screen. So it's just like an app. We push the button, it launches right open.
Okay, so that was going to be my question. If somebody searched in their app store, would they find relink.org, or is it just something you can you can save the page to your phone?
Yes, you save the needs page to your phone. So when you save this link right here, needs.relink.org, to your home screen, and it has the little relink.org logo, it looks just like an app. You open it up and you use it.
Okay. And the reason I was thinking about that was, the idea, I've encountered folks who are currently experiencing homelessness, but have been able to get a cell phone either through, local organizations or through their Medicaid plan, similar things. And the idea of having something on their home screen for them where there's no expectation that they remember where they need to go look, but where outreach workers and community providers could actually set that up for them on their phone, so it's always right there.
Yeah, and it's once you've saved something to your home screen once, you know how easy it is. It just you know how to do it. It just saves right there, just like an app.
Right. Do you guys ever get feedback on success stories? Somebody that has accessed Relink and made a profound connection out of that connection?
Oh, sure. So yeah, your questions are good because they bring me up to things I forgot to talk about. So yeah, obviously we are a digital platform, and we do keep it anonymous too. And we do that on purpose too, because we want people to feel free to look and browse and not be any shame in what they're looking for. Some people don't want people to know they're looking for help, or they're looking for help for a loved one. So we do not get to hear nearly all the thousands of stories that we would love to hear. But again, like I mentioned, we do have our super users, and a lot of them are, executive directors of different organizations or peer supporters, and they will call in and share their stories of the main thing that we hear is how much time it saves people, because they're able to place people so much quicker. And that is one that we really love, because when you're a counselor or a pastor or whoever it may be, when you have somebody in front of you, a social worker, and the person needs help. They need the physical help, but they also need the emotional help. They need someone to spend time with them, to care about them. If you are spending all of your time trying to find them a place to go, we want that to be quick so that you can spend the time talking to them and counseling them and meeting their needs in that way. So it's saving the time. We've definitely had some life-saving stories where someone was, we have a suicide information here, about to commit suicide. They called this, like, the person that's the executive director. The executive director is like, where are you? Okay, let me pull up relink.org. I've got a place for you. We'll have someone there in a minute, and they've been able to make that connection for when somebody calls them that's not right where they're used to being. We've had quite a few of those stories. We do also have ways for people to call us directly. Sometimes, when people need help, they really need to talk to somebody. And while this is not hard to navigate, sometimes when you're dealing with a lot of stress, it can be hard to navigate. I mean, I've been there where I can't even find my car keys, where something happens and you're so stressed out. And so we have a number that's the 216-762 up here in the upper left-hand corner, and that's monitored by us Monday through Friday during business hours. And we get quite a few calls on that where we walk people through things. I mean, we've had pregnant women that are homeless that need to find a place to stay, and all kinds of stories I could tell on what we get. But we also added in a 24-hour line. I gotta move you all out of my screen. So this right here, this will pop up. You guys can see that. This will pop up looking for assistance. This will pop up the first time you log on to relink.org in a day. If you log on 3 or 4 times a day, it minimizes, so it's not right in front of you, but it will pop up the first time you log on, and it allows you to call directly. And this is a partner we use. Hope Over Heroin answers this 24/7 for us, and they have a lot of stories of how they have placed people. And what I love about them too is they do the follow-up. So they follow up like, hey, we gave you these 3 options. Did any of them work out? How are you doing? Do you need any other help? And so that's a way that we do the hands-on approach. And I love getting their report every month on all the people that they've been able to place and help and hear back from. And so, yeah, we do get some stories which are encouraging for us.
Awesome. You mentioned during your presentation that reentry services are now your most frequently visited category, which makes me happy. It lets me know that us, working within ODRC are pushing consistent resource information out to folks, and our clients are leaving our institutions knowing where to go to get that information. And you mentioned, folks not having cell phones. So as our case managers are doing preparation and release preparation work with our clients ahead of them leaving our institutions, they're providing written information on Relink. I know when I would attend resource fairs at our institutions, I always had your promotional cards, like the postcard sized information and the business card information that we would hand out to incarcerated adults to keep in their possessions and take with them when they go home. If folks attending here today wanted to request something similar, something physical that they could put in the hands of clients, can they do that through you guys?
Sure. Yeah, we mail out. We have tons of information about relink.org, both in English and Spanish, and we send that out to any organizations that can use it and disseminate the information. Absolutely.
And should they call, email, either?
Yeah, you can just do info. I can type it in the chat, info@relink.org, and that comes to a bunch of us. We answer those pretty quickly. And I did want to mention relink.org is translated into Spanish as well.
I see the little flag over there. Okay.
Yeah. There we go.
Wow, that's
to
seamless.
be able to serve, the needs of the state. We're talking about some other languages as well, but right now we've just got English and Spanish.
Okay. Well, and I imagine those are definitely the highest demand.
Yeah, those are the highest demand right now in Ohio.
Yeah. And again, for our participants, if any of you have questions out there, please don't let me monopolize this talk. Feel free to chime in. And Ms. Campbell, I think the last thing I wanted to pose to you, traditionally, like the United Way's 211 phone number was similar in theory, at least if not in practice. Are there benefits to using relink.org versus just the phone number for 211 that you can think of?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I'd like to say I think they're both good. I mean, we've talked to a lot of 211 leaders around the state. And I think 211 is a really valuable service that the state needs. I think some of the advantages are is that we cross county lines. The way 211 is set up in Ohio is it's run by various counties, and so they only have their county resources. They're not necessarily able to help you go beyond your county.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's definitely one of the limitations. I think one of the others is that this allows people to have control over their own search. So when you call 211, it's great to get a person. I don't want to minimize that, but you don't always get to see all your options and choose them. I think of one story of someone I know who had a daughter that struggled with addiction and had been to several different treatments. So, usually in any area, there's the popular treatments that are the biggest ones, 1, 2, 3, 4. We know these big 4. And his daughter had been to all 4 of those. These would be the popular ones that would recommend if you called on the phone. But his daughter did better in this little mom and pop organization where they were able to take her and hold her hand one-on-one. And it was, probably on relink.org, it was even 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 15th on the list. But he had that ability to go through and navigate the list himself and look at every single option and choose the one that seemed to fit his daughter's personality and needs best. So he had that power in his hands to do that. Whereas when you call, you don't, they'll give you some options, but you don't get to see all the available options.
Right. So there's no choke point for that information with Relink. You're seeing all of it.
You get to see all of it. Sometimes it's a little too much. You're going to need to narrow down your search. For example, there's like 90 food pantries in Summit County. It might overwhelm you, but you can at least see it.
Right. Right. And better too many choices than too few.
Yeah, that was always Mr. Dalton's theory too, is I just want to, he's always says, he believes people are able to make good choices when they have the information in front of them as to what's best for them. So give people all the options really quickly and let them choose.
Right. Right. And with that comes empowerment. They're still, they might be in need, but they're still the one making decisions for their path.
Yes.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, I really want to thank you for spending the time to be here with us today. I know that Relink's been a really valuable partner with ODRC over the last few years, and we've been able to use it as a replacement for a lot of outdated and labor-intensive resource guides and attempts at collating comprehensive information for folks based on county that we simply didn't have the ability to stay on top of. And, having one place to go has been a boon for both us staff members and for our clients. So thank you guys for the work that you're doing.
Oh, you're welcome. Like I said, it's a labor of love for us. We enjoy it. We definitely want to keep it free for the state of Ohio, and we love doing it.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, for our audience, again, thank you guys for taking the time to be here today. I hope you are leaving with some information that'll be valuable to you in your work. I think we're giving you like 7 or 8 minutes back. The next sessions for Building Bridges don't start until 10:15. So you can use this time to go through all the options and decide where you are headed next. But thank you for choosing to spend the last hour with us. It was nice to have you here. So thank you, everybody, and we appreciate you participating in Building Bridges. I hope everybody has a happy Friday and a fantastic fall weekend. You guys take care of yourselves and stay safe.
Bye-bye, everybody.